Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the main event. And tonight, oh, I'm Daniel, if you didn't already know. And tonight, we're going to be hitting Starrcade 87. Chi-Town Heat. Yeah. I mean, in their defense, it was November. It was pretty cold. As it was November 26th, 1987, at the UIC Pavilion in Chicago, Illinois. And yeah, in front of like 8,000 fans. And main event, world title match, or sorry, steel cage match for the world title, Ric Flair versus Garvin. Alright, before I even jump into this, let me just tell you right now, I don't know much about NWA. Or at least I didn't watch much NWA. I didn't watch any of the shows or like that. I knew a lot of the pay-per-view results because, you know, as a kid I had, you know, PWI magazine and the Almanac. So I mean, you know, I had that pretty much locked down. So I mean, I knew who won or whatever, but I didn't know like even the feuds going into it and like that, you know, or what built up or anything, you know. And you know, other than that, you know, my uncle, he was a big wrestling fan too. Now, once again, I'm a WWF kid, but whenever like a wrestler would show up, such as, you know, Ronnie Garvin, when he, you know, did his run like 89 or whatever, I was like, I like this guy. And he's like, oh yeah, he used to wrestle in the other company, and you know, blah blah blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay. So as you know, in my formative wrestling years, that was really my only exposure to the NWA. Was, you know, either what I read or, you know, hearing it, you know, from my uncle. It wasn't until like I say high school, maybe even a little after high school, I started, you know, hitting the pawn shops and, you know, trying to find tapes and everything. And so, but other than that, I didn't have a whole lot of exposure to it. And it wasn't until, I don't know, I guess a little bit after high school, you know, I didn't have internet as a kid. I was abused. But no, when I first got internet, then I started, you know, doing a lot more research and, you know, watching a lot more videos and clips like that. And then, of course, now we got the, you know, network. It's like, all right, we're cool with it. So I'm watching a lot of these for the very first time. I don't have the same, you know, like, you know, with the other matches, especially WWF matches, like, I've seen them a million times. So I'm revisiting them and it's cool. But this is the first time I'm watching a lot of these NWA matches. So just so you guys know, you know, whenever I go through the main events for NWA, or really any of their companies, to be honest with you, you know, the build-up may not be the greatest. I'll probably skim over a lot of shit. And same with the Fallout, when I get to those two sections, you know, it may not be as in-depth as I am usually whenever I do the, you know, WWF, but I'm doing my best. So yeah, and of course, you know, Starrcade itself has a very interesting story, because we all know the story of, you know, they decided to put, you know, it's their first pay-per-view, putting it out there, and then Vince McMahon pretty much cock-blocked him and threw in a Survivor Series on the very same night. Like, very same night. And not only that, like, that's tough enough, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, even if I was a kid, or, you know, I guess an adult at the time, if I had the option to buy, I would have went Survivor Series. That's just my own personal opinion. But if that wasn't tough enough, then what he did is he threatened the cable providers, or, you know, whoever was doing the pay-per-views, and he was just like, listen, if you show Starrcade at all, you will not get WrestleMania 4. And that was a serious threat, because WrestleMania 3 was so huge that people were just like, oh, fuck. And of course, a lot of the cable providers did cave, and they're like, all right, fine, George, you got it, take it. And unfortunately, it really hurt Starrcade. Now, this was a success, I guess, for them, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. And of course, you know, that's how Vince played back then. So it makes you wonder, like, if, you know, if he didn't go down like that, you know, would have been better, you know, whatever. Don't know. Just don't know. So yeah, let's get to the actual main event, shall we? The build-up for this match, you know, 2 months prior to Starrcade, Ronnie Garvin defeated Ric Flair for the world title, and this was the rematch. You know, Flair's won his title back, so of course it's inside a steel cage. So as for the match itself, now I told you guys before, back on WrestleMania 2, and I want to apologize again for the fan. I know I had the fan on last night. Once again, I just refuse to turn the fucking air on. It's September, for Christ's sake. I'll leave the air off. So I got the fan blowing, so I apologize if you have to hear that. Sorry. But no, so going back to, you know, to WrestleMania 2, whenever I was talking about, you know, I prefer the blue steel cage, you know, the blue bar, you know, steel cage match, as opposed to like the chain link fence around it. And I told you guys that, you know, I had an older cousin who was more of an NWA WCW guy, and he always preferred the cage. And of course, the one thing he always said that I didn't bring up last time, was that he always felt like the escape stipulation was just too gimmicky. Like he was like, no, I mean it's real wrestling. You put two guys in a cage. That cage is supposed to contain them, keep them in, keep everybody else out, and then find out who the real man is. Who makes the pin or whatever. But to me, I mean, I didn't know any difference. I mean, to me, I grew up with WWF's cage, so to me, it didn't seem gimmicky. I was like, no, that's part of the match. You gotta get out of the cage. So I'm not gonna count that at all against this match. Okay, I'm not gonna be like, well, I prefer the WWF cage matches, so this is complete shit. I'm not gonna do that at all. I'm gonna be unbiased. However, I do have a major gripe with this match. All right, and it has to do with the fucking referee. Alright, so the entire match, literally you got, the commentators, which is Shivani and JR, and they've mentioned numerous times that, hey, there's no disqualification in this thing. Last guy standing, it's going, there's a clear winner, one way or another, there's no DQs, nothing like that, no holds barred in the cage. And they're saying this, and the fucking referee is like breaking them up when they're fighting in the corner. Like, seriously? Admonishing the guys when they're using close fists? And I'm like, dude, fuck off. It's no DQ. And what really pissed me off was, I think it was Garvin, he slapped on his own figure 4 on the Flair, and Flair, grabbed the ropes or whatever, and then it's like, the referee breaks it. And I was like, what? Fuck you. Kayfabe hat on. Alright? If I got a guy in a figure 4 in a cage match, I don't give a fuck what the referee says. I'm like, fuck you, it's no DQ the whole time. Like, the referee will be doing the 5 count. And of course, even the commentators are like, that 5 count means nothing because it's no disqualification. It's like, did no one tell the ref? Like, seriously, did no one tell the ref? Fuck me, this is ridiculous. And it was like this the entire time. In fact, Ric Flair is using the ropes for leverage when he's doing his figure 4. Every time the referee turns around, he dropped like he's doing something wrong. I'm like, dude, it's no DQ. Give the fucking middle finger to the ref and then pull yourself up and break his fucking leg. Break his leg if he doesn't quit. Just saying. That's to be the mindset and the attitude of these wrestlers in this cage match where there's no rules. And yet the referee was constantly breaking shit up, breaking up the holds, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. And honestly, that bugged me more than anything else. Like, I'm watching this match, and I'm trying my best to be, alright, it's NWA, it's a little different, I know they got their own rules, whatever. No. It was ridiculous. I got something on my face. I feel like... No, it's just a shadow, okay. The shadow... I don't want to be controversial, but the shadow looks like I have like a Hitler mustache there, and I'm like, no, I don't. Hope I didn't have like any grease or anything right there. No, just a shadow. Alright. False alarm, there's no Hitler shadow. No Hitler mustache. But no, so the whole time these two guys are fighting, the referee was just breaking it. And I'm just like, this is retarded. Like, this is just really fucking ridiculous. Aside from that, and I'm not going to count that, whatever, we'll kick it to the side. You get that out of the way, I'm like, alright, it wasn't a bad match. Dude, very hard hitting. Like, seriously, dude, the chops and the open hand slaps on the chest and back. Dude, you can see the whelps just fucking growing on these guys. And I was like, son of a bitch. And I even thought like, maybe he was going into business for himself. Like, it got personal. No, this is how these guys wrestle there. I was like, son of a bitch. Like, I've seen Flair do the chop like a million fucking times. I've never seen it this brutal. I have never seen it this brutal. And dude, same goes for Garvin. Like, Garvin was just fucking tearing his ass up in the ring. I was like, son of a bitch. So yeah, like I said, very hard hitting. If I would have saw this as a child, it would have been so much harder to convince me that wrestling is fake. So seriously, you'd have been like, it's fake, right? I'm like, no, bullshit. Watch Starrcade 87. Dudes fucking pound the shit out of each other. There's nothing fake about that. I'm seeing the whelps fucking rise on the dude's chest. Dude, they were like beat red in this thing. So yeah, like I said, it was hard hitting. I like that aspect of it. I didn't think it was kind of funny because we do hit all the typical Flair tropes in the match. He gets hit a couple times and he takes his walk and then falls flat down. He goes to the top rope and gets launched off. And of course he's bleeding because it wouldn't be a Ric Flair match if his blonde hair wasn't colored red. The only thing he didn't do was the whip into the corner where he flips over the ropes and then gets clotheslined on the apron. But they were in a cage, so we let slide. But there was one moment where, this is just me, once again, just nitpicking, I guess. But, you know, Flair's trying to climb out of the cage, and of course Garvin drags him back in because they're telling the story there. Like, you know, in this company, it's not, you know, there's no escape. They're trying to prove that. Like, there's nowhere to run. You know, you're in there fighting. But I'm like, what if you got out? Like, what would have happened? Exactly. Because I'm thinking to myself, like, if it's me in there, now we're going kayfabe, remember, it's real. If I'm in there, and Garvin's just whooping my ass, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I would not be a good fighter at all, good wrestler at all. He's whooping my ass, doing fucking open hand chops, I'm crying, like, I'm literally crying, open tears in front of the world. Not too many people's watching, but it's okay. Anyways, I would just fucking, I'd low blow him, and I'd go over the cage. Now, I don't want to be considered a coward too much, even though it's pretty cowardly to, you know, run away. But I'm not going to walk out, because as soon as you head out to the locker room, they're just like, well, fuck it. Forfeit, I guess. That's his way of quitting the match altogether. We're out. But if I stay at ringside and just kind of run around, like, I got to make this motherfucker work harder. Like, he's got to climb out of the cage, whip my ass, and then drag me back into the cage. And I mean, I'm sure they'll unlock it for him. But still, yeah, it's like making work for the victim. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I just feel like I would have climbed over and be like, fuck you, I'm hanging out here. Have fun trying to find me. But yeah, whatever. That's why I can't book matches, because I'd be doing dumb shit like that all the time. Like, yeah, you jackasses decided to have the no escape clause, so guess what? I want to throw it against you. I'm sure that referee would start counting them out anyway. Jack off. So yeah, and then of course, now the story I've been hearing, and I'm not sure, you know, the truth behind it or whatever. I haven't seen any you know, shoot interviews with these guys or whatever. But the story I always heard was that you know, they decided to put the title on Garvin, you know, 2 months earlier, but like almost immediately they realized that was a big mistake. Like, the fans just didn't react well to him, because he's a babyface. He's the good guy. And they just did not like him at all. And they realized quickly, shit, we need to put it back on Flair, and then try to take it from Flair and put it on someone else. And it makes sense when you watch the match. Flair, who is the bad guy, he's the heel, dude, getting cheered. Like, literally, Big Poppy comes out, Garvin doesn't get much of one. During the match, you're getting Flair chants, and this is like 1987. This isn't like the, you know, smart crowd that, you know, comes out there and they're all like, CM Punk, blah, blah, blah. No, I mean, this is a, you know, this is 87, wrestling's real, and they're like cheering for Flair, the bad guy, and like Garvin's getting nothing. And I felt really bad for Garvin, because I liked Garvin. Like, you know, when he was rugged Ronnie Garvin in WWF, I love that run. So I kind of felt bad for him, but at the same time, like, well, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And if he's not, you know, I mean, can you imagine if like WWF did something like that? They put the title on a good guy that the fans just hated? That'd be, oh shit, they did that, didn't they? Anyways, but no. So I mean, like I said, you know, if that's the case, I mean, it makes sense, because like I said, Flair was getting the pops. Like JJ Dillon, who's like, you know, the heelish manager at the time, like comes out afterwards, you know, to celebrate and, you know, raise his hand, and then like, the crowd's like, yeah, we don't care if you're bad guys or not, we like you. Yeah. It wasn't even Flair country, shit. Like, it wasn't even like the Carolinas or Georgia or nothing like that. No, it was like literally we're up north, and they're still like, ah, fucking Flair, yeah. So the match end comes when Flair basically just picks him up and launches him into the cage. And of course, you know, most cages, you know, not most, I guess, but you know, a lot of cages, there's 4 panels, like 4 sides of the cage that, you know, they erect up and then they tie them together or whatever. But here, I mean, it was like, I'm sure it is the same thing, but it was like an 8 section. So you had like 2 panels per side. So you get like 2 cages that were together. And of course, there was like some metal poles right there. And of course, that's why he picks him up and he brings him face first into that. And of course, he's just knocked out unconscious, and Flair picks up the win. And I'm thinking to myself, like, buddy, like, you get knocked out on that? Like, you wouldn't make it in WWF. It's all bars. Like, you get hit once, you're fucking laid out. I want to see that match where Garvin goes in there and locks up somebody. Someone just like bashes his head into the pole once. He's like, I'm dead. Laid out. Can't do it anymore. And the guy just walks out. But anyways, so yeah, Flair takes him out, and then of course, you know, wins his world title back, and making his 5th world title at this time. So, so the fallout. Flair, you know, continues to defend the title. At the next pay-per-view, it was the Bunkhouse Stampede, and took on Road Warrior Hawk, which I thought was kind of weird. Like, the one thing my cousin always harped on, because he was just like, you know, WWF's too cartoony, and even though I would argue make my case that, you know, WCW just as cartoony, if not worse at times, but whatever. But he always, like, there's always a legitimacy to, like, the NWA. Like, you know, it felt like it was a real sport and it had actually a legitimate, like, ranking system. But it's like, Hawk, at this point, was just fighting tag matches. Like, it was the Road Warriors. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so this is, like, November 26th. I forget when Bunkhouse Stampede, I think it's in January, but, you know, we'll say mid-January. Hell, we can make it late January, it makes you feel better. I don't give a fuck. But anyways, so, obviously, you know, if he went through the ranks, you know, and started taking out people in singles competition to earn that shot, he had, like, raced through, like, a ton of people in, like, a month. Less than a month if you're trying to properly build your pay-per-view. Once again, I don't know how they build it back then, so I don't, you know, I would assume they had a good 2 weeks to a month to be like, hey, here's our main event for Bunkhouse Stampede, or it's not even the main event, but here's our featured bout, here's our world title match here. Build up. No, it's like no build up at all. Like somehow Road Warrior Hawk just started breaking bad on the independents or on the singles, you know, rankings, and just start tearing through the ranks and got himself up a title match against Flair, which didn't fucking matter because Flair successfully defended that Bunkhouse Stampede. Spoiler alert. But then he would go on to face another face-painted warrior. Man you may know as a Sting. And this would start a huge rivalry that would just last off and on until the end of WCW. And of course they would meet for the first time at Clash of Champions. So yeah. So what I think about this match overall, you know, if we're looking at the match by itself, much like we did with the Wrestling Classic, you look at the match by itself, it's a decent match. It really is. I mean, I say it's really hard hitting. I'm surprised at how hard hitting it was, how intense it got. Aside from the jackass referee, it was a decent match. But if you look at, I guess when you step back and just kind of look at what they're doing, it made me scratch my head a little bit. I didn't mean to do it like that, but I guess I'll scratch my head right there for the visual effect. You know, Starrcade is the flagship, you know, pay-per-view card of NWA/WCW. So it just seems weird to me that, like, because, you know, everybody always says, like, you know, Starrcade's the, you know, WrestleMania in WCW. And it just seems kind of weird because you will never hear the opposite of that. Like, even though Starrcade predates WrestleMania, you have never heard anybody say, well, you know, WrestleMania, that's just the Starrcade of WWF. No, because that's just retarded. But you look at the two big events there, okay? Two different promotions, two rival promotions, 1987. Their flagship pay-per-views, WrestleMania, Starrcade. You have Andre versus Hogan, which I covered this last night. I'm not going to go in depth on this, but you had Hogan versus Andre. And then you had Garvin versus Flair. And I'm just kind of like, really? Like, it just seems like that's your match? And that is nothing against Flair or Garvin. I love both guys, respect both guys. It's just, Hogan and Andre, that has a certain weight to it. And, you know, Flair belongs in that same category, but at the same time, it's kind of like, was Garvin, like, they really had, like, high hopes for Ronnie Garvin or whatever? I don't know. It just seems weird that, like, they had all this time because it was like March, huge main event. Holy shit, we gotta fucking top that. Here we go, and it's just like, no, you guys really didn't. You had all the time in the world to, you know, fucking figure out something good to do at Starrcade, and you guys turned out a mediocre product. Like, I'm sorry, it's my own opinion. I know I'm pissing off all the NWA purists out there, but just it is what it is. And then you look at, like, you know, okay, so let's just take, okay, WrestleMania is just too hard to compete with. Shouldn't be because it's their flagship, but whatever. So you put Starrcade against the event that is taking place at the same time, Survivor Series, a unique concept that has the same feud carried over. Huge. And of course, you know, it's fresh concept, you know, major feud, main event, boom, star-studded, and you go over here and it's like, this is what you still got, like, literally. And that didn't just happen overnight. Like, that was probably, you know, booked a month or two in advance, and it's like, here's our Survivor Series card, and they're like, we gotta compete with that. Here's ours. And this is what they threw up there. It seems like a whoopsie-daisy match. Because clearly this was not the plan from the get-go. Obviously. Because 2 months prior, you know, the titles on Ronnie Garvin, they're like, he's gonna do great things, and they realized quickly, holy shit, nobody likes him. We gotta fix this. But instead of fixing it, like, immediately, and then trying to build up your card, because once again, from what I hear, it was almost immediately they realized, holy shit, we gotta fix this. But instead of fixing it there, they're just like, we'll wait for Starrcade. we'll give him a good Starrcade, but it's like, whoopsie daisy. That's what happened. I don't know. It just seems very odd to me. That's all I'm saying. It just seems very like, this is your match? Like, this is what you're leading with? Like, and it just seems, another thing that always puzzled me about Starrcade 87 was the fact that that was the first pay-per-view. Now, of course, it's always debated, but like I said, I always heard that, WrestleMania 1, yes, closed circuit for the most part, but like in a few small markets, they tested out the whole pay-per-view thing, and it was a success. And then, of course, they would eventually do the Wrestling Classic, which not as much a success, but enough to keep going. And then, WrestleMania 2 and then 3. But it just seems like, at this point, they still had to have like the Grand American Bash. I know they had to have like other supercards and shit. It's like, how did they wait 2 full years? Like, they're like, we'll wait. We'll wait for, it's like, oh shit, like 1987, it was like, oh wow, this pay-per-view thing is really taking off. I guess we'll jump on this. You can blame Vince for doing what he did, but at the same time, it's like, dude, they should have already been on the ball. Like, really, 1985, as soon as, like, the Wrestling Classic, does okay, and they're already starting to build up WrestleMania 2, they should have been already out there. Like, I've seen Starrcade, whichever Starrcade it was where the Road Warriors fought the Midnight Express on the scaffold match. I don't remember which one. I think it was 86. Dude, that was a good card. That would have been a great pay-per-view. You could have made more money, and they didn't. So, yeah, Vince was kind of a dick for doing what he did, but at the same time, it's like, dude, they were kind of fucking themselves anyways. Like, I mean, you wait 2 full years to finally put out your first pay-per-view while, they were going to jump on you at 3 or 4. Dude, that's your own fault. That's your own fault. That's all I'm saying. Like I said, match on its own, I liked. I'm giving it a thumbs up. It was a good match. It was enjoyable. But just in the big picture, big scheme of things, no. I'm not trying to knock Ronnie Garvin, but let's face it. When you start listing out your favorite wrestlers, and I don't care what category you're using, like, actual great ring technicians or popular, I'm sorry, Hogan, Andre, and Flair are up there. They're, top 10 easily. Ronnie Garvin, as much as I respect and love that guy, he's a great wrestler, he doesn't quite make that list. He should. I mean, he was a damn good wrestler, but he just doesn't. And it's because, I guess, the crowd didn't get behind him. They didn't get behind him in 87, and he got bumped down. So, I can say, by itself, good match. You try to, compare it to the other stuff in 1987. Unfortunately, it's weak sauce. So, that's just my opinion. What did you guys think about the match? Let me know in the comment section below. What you thought of this one. Maybe I'm just being an asshole right now, but I will probably get a lot of like, well, you were just too young. Blah, blah, blah. You were raised on WWF and cartoon gimmick matches. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe I was. Let me know down there. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Tune in next week. We'll be hitting the Survivor Series. So, boom. Guys, all I got. Thank you for watching. And, yeah, till next time.